What do you do when things go sour? What do you do when things don't go your way? And what do you do when you apply something that you thought would actually be a solution and it does not? Well, in this video, we're going to be answering all of those questions. Are you clicking on different YouTube pages, YouTube channels, YouTube videos, and you cannot really find that ultimate video that can give you profitability? Well, I cannot assure you that after watching this video you're gonna be profitable, but one thing that I can assure you is that after watching this video there is something that you can take home, implement it, and try to see if there is progress in your trading. Hi traders, my name is MJ Givens Hasi, your president, your coach, and your mentor. I want you to do me a favor by liking and clicking that subscription button and also hitting that notification bell so that you'll be notified when we drop another episode. We go through situations as traders, we go through situations as business people, we go through situations as human beings. The ultimate question is, how do you solve the problem? Well, I want to take you through 4 types of situation plans that you have out there in the business world, also in the trading world. But there's one in particular that I want to focus too much on, and I believe that this can give you value as you are watching this. I also want you to take some notes as you are watching this episode, because I believe that most of the things that you normally watch, 80%, and this is a fact, 80% of the things that you hear and watch on daily basis, in the next day you forgot about them. You can only grasp run about 20%. So it's always better to have notes every time you watch a video like this. Put down some things, take some notes on important aspects that I'm going to say, and meditate upon them daily as you go about your day. Most of you know that I've been trading for years and I've faced challenges in my trading journey. But one thing that I've learned is I need to always have a plan, and I always need to have an approach. It's one thing to have a plan, and it's another thing to have an approach. A plan can be written down, and a written plan is as good as nothing because it's written, but you need to have an approach and you need to have an execution. So you will plan, you approach, then you execute. So there are traders that always plan, they approach the plan, but they don't execute according to the plan. So what I basically want to do in this video is to ensure that as much as you plan, you write down the plan, you write down the vision, as much as you also approach it with a good mindset, with a good mentality, you must also have a different execution plan and execution point. Understanding where is your execution point, where does your execution point lie? And once you have executed, these are the results that you are expecting. Does practice make perfect? Well, I'm going to agree with one trader that says practice does not make perfect, but practice makes permanent. Well, there's a study that was conducted that you need at least 20 to 40,000 hours to learn something, to be perfect at it. But I believe that after you have those hours doing that thing, you always acquire this thing at the back of your head that it becomes permanent. I know trusting an online trading platform with your money can be tough, but OCTA makes sure you can trade with peace of mind. They are licensed in South Africa with FSP license number 51913, and they believe in total transparency. Your funds are securely held in segregated accounts, fully encrypted, and you can withdraw right after your deposit. OCTA is being awarded with reliability and transparency. Ready to start trading securely? Use this promo code TRADEWITHMJ to double your deposit and trade with confidence. If you learn how to drive a car, in the first early stages, you normally look at the gears before you engage. Whether it's a manual, whether it's not automatic. Every time you engage in something new, you always look at it just to figure out if you're doing the right thing. But the minute you start using that thing all over and all over again, it becomes automatic. You don't have to look at anything. It's in your mind, it's in your head, and it's also within yourself. You know what to do. Even a simple thing as a keyboard. Now, there was a study that was conducted. The people that know how to type in today's era, right? They are mostly now, the difference between people back then and people of today, right? If you look at the people from maybe the 1980s, they cannot type as quick as people of today. You may ask, President, is it because maybe they didn't have enough education about typing? No. They did not have access to platforms that will enable them to type. So back then in the 80s, you just rely on you going to school. If there is a computer, you are being taught how to type, right? Now you don't need to. You are always on your smartphone. You are typing on WhatsApp. You are typing on Instagram. You are typing even your emails on your mobile phone. What that does to you is that it makes things easier for you. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect, but I'm saying the speed in which you find a person who's using a smartphone and the person who never had a smartphone, if you put them in one room and say type on a computer, the one with the smartphone has the edge. Not because he had good education, but he had an access to a platform that enables him to be exposed to typing mechanism. But that other one doesn't have a smartphone, so it's not easy for him to understand where are the buttons for me to type, right? I'm basically saying to you, the more you do something, the more you become good at it. So as a trader, the more you like closing and moving your stop loss all the time, the more you will become good at it. Remember, not every habit is a good habit. There are wrong things that we do as human beings, and just because we do it all the time, we tend to think that that is the right thing to do. Just because it's easy for you to do something, it does not mean it is the right thing to do. I repeat that. Just because it's easy for you to do something, it doesn't mean it is the right thing to do. Some easy things, some easy habits that we tend to do in our trading career, they are wrong, but just because it's easy to do them, it makes it as if it is the right thing to do. Moving your stop loss all the time when it's about to hit it, and I spoke about this in our previous episode. Please go check it out. Mastering, the title of the episode is called Mastering How I Mastered My Trading Psychology. Go check it out. I talk about a lot of traders always moving their stop losses. When their stop loss is about to get hit, they move it lower, even lower. It's a habit, it's a bad behavior, and you become too comfortable in your wrongdoings. As a trader, as a business person, even as a human being, avoid being comfortable in doing wrong things. Don't allow yourself to think that because it's quicker to do, it's easy to do, it's the right thing to do. Even people who steal cars, those are high performance creatures. I've never heard of a person who steals a car and he will say, I want to take my time. They try to steal it as quick as possible because of their looking and they're calculating their response time. That if I'm going to open this car, I need this much minutes for me to get in the car, start the car, and get off. But just because it's easy for them to steal a car, it does not mean it's the right thing to do. Just because it's easy for you to flip an account in one day, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Just because it's easy for you to break your rules, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Don't be content with doing the wrong things. It doesn't get you anywhere. I want to now get into the plans. Now, you normally have 4 different types of plans. You would normally have what we call a strategic plan. You would have an operational plan, a tactical plan, and a contingency plan. Right? Strategic planning is what you do when you plan going ahead to say, this is a strategy that I'm going to utilize going forward. Operational plan, this is the strategy that you're going to have when you operate your business. To look at what are the things that I need to operate my business. I'm going to need this for this to operate. I'm going to need that for this to operate, right? So your operational plan will be what type of a leverage do you use, how much money is going to come into your account, how much of your expenses you're going to be paying in your business, whether it's data, whether it's Wi-Fi, if I'm going to need a PC, how much is it going to cost me to maintain that PC? You know, all of those are your operational planning, right? Then you get into technical planning. Now, technical planning is what is it that you're gonna do from your operations. So that means it is the execution from your operational plan. So if you're on your operational plan, you say, I need to use 1:500 or 1:30, 1:50 leverage, right? On your technical plan, you are saying, since I'm using this leverage from my operational planning, this is how I'm going to execute it. I'm going to take 5 trades a day, 5 trades a month, or 5 trades a week. Technically, this is how I approach my planning and my business. So you are actually taking from your operational planning, and then now you're executing with your technical planning. Contingency planning. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important planning out of all of them, because I believe that most of you had a strategic plan, you had an operational plan, and you had a technical plan, but it doesn't lead you anywhere. Technical plan, contingency planning rather, this is the most important, and the reason why I say it's the most important is because of this is what we lack as human beings from the day we are born. And in our previous episode, I spoke about a human being is designed to always try to derive away from problems. When he sees a problem, it's either a human being will adjust, overcome, or the human being will try to run away from the problem because he's trying to run away from the pain, right? So when you look at contingency planning, this is basically a planning that you have. You are actually saying, this is how I'm going to be when I face emergency. That's contingency, right? Even when you go to a bank now, you want to apply for a loan. They will say, okay, fine, you want 10 billion from us, right? I'm going to speak big numbers because I want to give you a prophetic declaration from this business world that as much as we profess big numbers in our heads, we are working towards them. So I'm going to use big numbers. If you go to a bank right now, and to some of you, I believe in the next 10 years, we'll be talking of these numbers. In the next 5 years, we're going to be talking about these numbers. You'll be sitting down with your banker and say, I want 10 billion from you. What the bank will say, they will look at the risk of how much that money is. They'll say, that's too much, right? They will say to you, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, fine, we can give you the 10 billion. We see that your credit score is good. The way in which you use your credit, your credit is good, you pay on time, your scoring is good. But on this one, unfortunately, given the nature and given how big this amount is, we are going to need contingency from you. What is contingency? They will say, what do you own? In case you cannot pay this loan, we are going to take your house. Is that all right? It all depends on the contractual capacity, contractual agreement between you and the bank. We'll say, okay, fine, I need 10 billion. In case I cannot pay the 10 billion, you can take my livestock, you can take my, I almost said wife. I'm not going to mention that one on this. I don't think you can use your wife as a contingency plan. So you're going to use your house, we're going to take your house, we're going to take your cars, we're going to take your assets that you own. We want that as contingency in case you cannot pay back our loan. That's contingency planning. So they are basically saying they want to know how they are going to provide security for themselves if things go sour. That's contingency on its own. So as a trader, you must always have a contingency plan to say, if I'm going to make a deposit of $5,000, right? Again, we're speaking big numbers. If I'm going to make, and don't get me wrong, even if it's $25, it's $50, it does not really matter. It's all about what you tell yourself in your head. $25 can be $25 on paper, but it can be $25,000 in your head, right? Practicing with that $25 with the returns, again, it goes back to habits. Practice does not make perfect, practice makes permanent. So the more you mess up with that $25, I know that you're going to mess up with $25,000. Practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent, right? Now, contingency planning is when you say, fine, if I make a deposit of $5,000, right, if this thing doesn't go my way, I have a plan of doing 1, 2, 3. That is contingency planning. But the problem with traders is that they always want to have a contingency plan before the popo hits the fan. So contingency planning does not happen when you before the crisis comes in place. Or rather, it always happens before the crisis comes in place, not after. So the bank cannot say, fine, Mr. Khasi, we see you want $10 billion or 10 billion rands, depending on the country you're going to be in, right? They cannot say, fine, we see you want 10 billion rands, but we will talk about contingency once we see that you cannot pay. That's when we're going to say, fine, what can you give us? They're not going to do that. They want to know what do you own before they give you the $10 billion. So why is it that as a trader, you always want to do a contingency plan after you've blown the amount, after you've blown your account, after you've made a lot of mistakes? Why is it that contingency always comes after? Contingency have to come before the execution of your plan. And it's not like you're being negative. You're understanding the nature of your business, that in this business, you give some, you lose some, you give some, you lose some. Any other thing in life. And remember, you have tuned on this channel not only to learn about trading or business. I also want to give you something about life in general. Life will always give you something, take something. Always have a plan on how you are going to come out when the popo hits the fan. I really enjoyed myself speaking to you guys, and part 2 needs to reload. I can only do part 2 if you tell me if I need to do part 2 of all these 4 types. So I spoke about contingency planning, right? And I went in depth on it. But I want to also give you the other 3 elements, or the other 3 situation plans that you can find as an entrepreneur, as a trader, as well as a business owner. If we need to do part 2, you know what to do, you know the drill. You just have to tell me on the comment section and say, President, part 2 of this episode. That's all you have to write on the comment section. Part 2 of this episode. That's all you have to do. Choppers and traders at large, thank you so much for tuning in. It is my honor to always serve you on weekly basis, daily basis, just to give you what I know and what I have come, a man that I've become by the research that I've made, and a man that I've become by the experiences I've been through. Listen, any man that gives you information that you feel that it's out of this world, you must know one thing about this person. It's either he's been broken or he studies a lot. But one thing I can tell you, my brokenness in life and my failures in life has made me to know what I know today. I was actually having a joke with someone when he reminded me that I've listed so many businesses that have failed, and there's one business in particular that I didn't mention. And I'm like, I failed so much in life that I've even forgot my failures. That's how painful life can be. Learn something. You're not the only one who's going through what you're going through. You're not the first one, and you're not the only one to ever blow. You still encounter problems. With close to a decade of trading experience, I still go through issues. I still go through problems. But one thing about me is that I've learned how to overcome that. Contingency planning. Remember, again, contingency planning is important in your trading journey, in your trading career. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless, and see you on the next episode.